So, in these last few weeks of the campaign, what is your message to voters in the 3rd Congressional District as you're out and about? Why they should choose you over your opponent?
So my message is that I am honored to be representing Utahns in Congress. I'm on committees that are important to Utah, the Appropriations Committee and the Natural Resources Committee. I'm the chair of the Western Caucus, which gives me the ability to focus my colleagues' attention on the issues that matter in Utah. I'm in the middle of my first term. I'm just getting started on addressing the issues that I ran to address, and I want to keep fixing problems for Utahns. I want to keep representing Utahns, and I'm excited about the 3rd District. I like all of the resources issues that are in it, the counties. It's got 2 of the fastest growing areas in the state and most of the really rural, remote areas of the state, and that creates a lot of opportunity.
So we talked a little bit about the war in Iran, and you talked about how the emphasis from the administration has been pushing for peace, but it looks like some of the negotiations over the last couple of days have fallen through or are not progressing very much. I'm wondering if the House GOP caucus and you personally are hoping that the Trump administration can speed this process up so it doesn't hurt you guys in the midterms, just with the affordability of gas and things like this.
Well, I would love to see the administration get to a peace deal, not purely for Machiavellian reasons that have to do with midterm elections, but I want this to be resolved. I want there to be peace. And we talk in the caucus about supporting the administration, supporting the goal of ending this quickly, getting to a peace agreement, and being able to move on and address other problems.
You said you wanted to see Congress take a more active role, I think, or get involved in the process a little bit. How do you envision that? Would you like to see Congress just give the president the authority to continue as it's going, or would you like to see some presidents?
So I've been meeting with some of my Republican colleagues in the House to talk about what that authority should look like. Things like, if we're going to authorize action, what should the guardrails on that be? What should the timeline be? We're still in that process of coming up with what it's going to be, so I don't want to give too many details, but this is the work we should be doing in Congress, talking about how we want this to look. The president's the commander-in-chief. He has the ability to take action, but we declare war and we control the purse strings, and we have a responsibility to step up and do our part too, in deciding what role we should play.
Does the Israeli incursion into Lebanon change the landscape a little bit in your perspective?
I don't think so.
Do you think that the president has violated the War Powers Act? It says that after 60 days he has to come to Congress and ask for permission.
Well, because those of us in Congress are having these conversations, we've had bills coming to the floor, I would say nobody's violating the law. The process is playing out.
We heard a wide range of issues in a debate format, but what do you, excuse me, what do you think will be the defining issue in this race for CD3?
I think people in CD3 are going to be looking for someone who can competently represent their issues on a national stage and solve problems. And that's what I love to do. I'm a problem solver by nature. I like policy. That's what got me into politics. And so I have faith that they will see that in me and want me to represent them.
Why should voters pick you over your opponent?
Well, I answered that question at the very beginning, but I will tell you again, I am a problem solver. I'm on committees that are important to Utah. I'm doing work that's important to Utah. I'm bringing home wins that matter in this state, and I would love to keep doing that.
Would it be correct to characterize it as more of an argument of experience and pragmatism over specific issues that resonate with voters, or do you see specific issues that rise to the top as well?
I would say I'm making an argument to the voters in the 3rd District that I'm in the right position with the right skills to help them solve the problems that they're telling me they want solved, and so I'm the right person for this job.
Your opponent was very critical of Congress and the government in general. As someone who's in Congress, running as an incumbent, how would you defend your record or pitch your candidacy to voters who feel maybe disenfranchised with how things are going?
Everybody's critical of things that they haven't had to try yet. I used to be very critical of Congress myself. I'm still fairly critical of Congress from time to time, but any group of more than 400 people is going to be complicated and have a hard time reaching decisions. That's a feature, not a bug. That's something that our founding fathers expected the legislative branch to do. They want us to have to kick ideas around, win people over, in the hopes that what we eventually come up with is something that has broad buy-in, broad support, and is good for the entire country. And I'm in my first full term in Congress. I haven't exactly, served a long time, but I've been there long enough to know that it takes a steady hand, a patient attitude, a people person who's willing to go in and build coalitions and work with people and find out what matters to them. And I've started doing that. I actually think I'm pretty good at it, and I'd like to keep doing that. It's easy to criticize Congress from the outside. When you're on the inside, you have to find ways to get things done, and that's what I've been doing.
When you brought up, the election was very, 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 very close.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if you remember.
So long ago.
Is this one going to be different? And if so, why do you think it would be?
Well, it's a different district, but the last time I was brand new, I had to file to run for office 4 weeks after I got sworn in. I didn't have much of a track record yet. Now I have a pretty good track record of bringing home wins for Utah, and I think that's going to make this one different.
You brought up your work on Escalante in the debate today.
Yeah.
You recently filed that joint resolution with Senator Lee.
Yeah.
Why was that necessary, and what comes next with it?
So I said in the debate, there's a new resource management plan that didn't take into consideration the concerns of the locals. So the continuing resolution, or the Congressional Review Act that we introduced would make the agency go back to their previous resource management plan that was introduced 6 years ago.
And what comes next with it? What are you working on with them?
Then the agency would have to write a new resource management plan, taking into account the concerns of the locals. This is about process and outcomes and making sure that the locals have a voice in how their own backyard is managed.
You mentioned, you brought up the Colorado River Compact.
Yeah.
I think that's something Congress will be dealing with in the upcoming session. Utah appears it's going to have to take a haircut on its water usage. I mean, how do you convey that to your constituents and brace them for that?
I'm not getting ahead of the state and their negotiations. My job in Congress is to ratify the agreement the states reach, not to tell the states what their agreement's going to be, so I wouldn't.
But do you see a point where Congress has to step in, either through making decisions or even infrastructure?
Maybe. I mean, I'm advocating right now for Congress to start making some infrastructure decisions regardless of what happens with the state's negotiations. 100 years ago, we had people in this country who are willing to dream big, audacious dreams. We started building dams and rivers, the likes of which the world had never seen, and we've benefited from that for 100 years now. I think it's time for the next century's plan. What infrastructure do we need to make sure Americans living in the West 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, 100 years from now have water stability? And I'm already working with my colleagues on starting that plan. I'm talking to the administration about it. We have a lot of buy-in. It's going to take a lot of work. It's a really ambitious thing to start talking to the press about before it's done. But I believe it's so important that I'm willing to tell people that we're doing it.
Could you give us any idea of what some of that ambitious plan would look like? What are some of your ideas you're presenting forward?
Yeah, so some of the things we're talking about are some of the obvious things. Desalination, probably not something we're going to do in Utah, obviously. That'd be more for the coastal states, building more storage. If we're going to be facing wetter wet periods and drier dry periods in the future, we're going to need more infrastructure to make sure we're capturing the water that comes during the wet periods. And who knows what else we need to be doing that we haven't thought of yet. When you get people in the room and you start kicking around ideas, sometimes, the sum is greater than the whole of the parts, and you come up with ideas that no individual would have come up with alone. California's needs are different than Utah's. Utah's are different than New Mexico's, but we all have water needs, and if we're going to be investing federal dollars in water infrastructure, we need everyone in the room and agreeing.
A few weeks ago, you told the Desert News that with your position on the Appropriations Committee, you were advocating for that $1 billion that
Yeah.
President Trump had bookmarked for the Great Salt Lake.
Yeah.
How is that process going? How are those conversations going? And how much money do you think could end up in that budget proposal from the Appropriations Committees?
It's going really well. I don't think we're going to get $1 billion in 1 year. We're going to get $1 billion over a series of years. But what we're doing right now is outlining what that plan needs to look like. And again, we're working with the state, the feds, the locals to make sure that whatever we're investing in are things that make sense for federal dollars to be invested in, that there's a benefit to the people of the United States. Obviously, there are benefits from not having dust blowing off the Great Salt Lake. There are benefits to doing invasive species removal. There are benefits to doing upstream forest management that makes it so that more water gets into the system and gets to the lake. So we're having collaboration the likes of which I have not seen before on water issues in the West, and that gives me hope. We've never had a president of the United States, to my knowledge, say, we want to make sure that we're taking care of the Great Salt Lake, and we have that right now.
That's all the time we
As an
have.
appropriator, can I get one more
Okay.
question? Sorry. As an appropriator, what's your position on the president's $1.8 billion settlement fund?
Oh, would you look at that? We ran out of time before you asked the question. I'm going to yield the podium to my opponent so that I don't cut into his time.
Okay.